Hey there, are you wondering if your little one is overtired and what are the signs of that and what can you do to alleviate it? Well, this video is for you. Hey there, I'm Dr. Sarah Mitchell. I'm a chiropractor by training, but really found my passion empowering parents to teach their little ones to sleep and parent confidently day and night as a sleep consultant. I'm the creator of the Helping Babies Sleep Method. And overtiredness. Yeah, it's hard to know what to look for sometimes when you're a first time or even a second time parent. So let's talk through the different age groups. Newborns, babies 4 to 24 months, and toddlers 2 to 4 years. So here we go. So in newborns, the most common overtired sign is actually what I call falling into the red zone. The red zone is when your child is kind of inconsolable. They've been staying awake too long and now they are so tired. They have no self-regulation skills and they are just like crying uncontrollably. That is hard to get out of. So what you want to do is try and prevent that. Now, some signs that your child is sleepy are, they start to yawn. They may get red under their eyes. They may become a little bit more fussy. Sometimes those signs are preceded actually by a very subtle set of cues that I want you to start watching for. And in the newborn stage, 0 to 3 months, what this might look like is that, somewhere around 2 months, you're able to make eye contact with your little one. But when they get tired, they don't want to keep that eye contact with you. They kind of start to look off and disengage in their interaction with you. That can be a subtle sign that they're getting tired. You also may notice that their arms and legs are moving, and then when they get tired, their limb activity might start to decrease a little bit. They might also look a little bit glazed over. So when you see those set of signs, then you want to be thinking, okay, it's time to get nap time started here. Let's get going. The yawning, the eye rubbing, the fussiness, they are on their way to make nap happen ASAP. And then the inconsolable crying, you're now in that tough spot of they are overtired and not well self-regulating because they can't really, and you're going to be bouncing, maybe feeding to sleep, doing all those things that you can to help get them to fall asleep. Okay, so those are kind of the newborn signs. Do those sleepy signs apply for older ages? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Now here's the thing. I find sometimes those sleepy signs, especially in kids who are already overtired, are hard to read. Now, what makes a child overtired? Let's start there too. Overtiredness is because your child is staying awake too long between naps or before bed, or because they wake up so much in the night for whatever reason. It could be discomfort. It could be, you fell into this overtired cycle of not getting enough sleep, and then it is actually harder to fall asleep and then stay asleep once your child is overtired. So sometimes the sleepy signs can be hard to read, and that's why I like to use the clock as backup. Now, when I was first going through this, I was like, no, I'm a natural mama. I'm going to be baby-led, and it just didn't work out for me. So I promote using the clock and marrying those with the signs, but also the clock can be really, really valuable. And when I mean the clock, it's watching how long your child's been awake for. Okay? So for most newborns, in that first month, they basically wake up, eat, and then fall back asleep. Maybe they can stay awake 45 minutes to an hour. By 3 months, that's about an hour and a half. By 5 months, that's about 2 hours. In general, putting kids down after those times can be harder to get them to fall asleep. What are those times based on? They're actually based on science and observation. So in general, it's called sleep pressure, and all humans have this. And it's the idea that as your body is metabolizing, burning through fuel just to keep you alive, basically, you use a molecule called ATP for energy. And one of the byproducts of using that molecule is a protein called adenosine, and it builds up and signals your brain it's time to sleep. And that's what those awake times are based on. Because babies are growing so fast, they're growing exponentially, they're burning through fuel more quickly, and that protein builds up, which is why they need more naps, which is why as their rate of growth slows down around 5 months, so do their nap needs. So a 5-month-old might be napping 3 to 4 hours a day, whereas a 6-month-old can stay awake longer between naps and only needs to nap about 2 to 3 hours per day in comparison, because their rate of growth is slowing. So watching the clock can be really, really helpful. I'm going to put a link down here to our sleep summary by age. It tells you how much sleep your child needs in about 24 hours, how long they can stay awake between naps, and their total daily kind of nap needs overall. Take that with a grain of salt. They are guidelines to start with. It's a great starting place, and focus more on that 24 hours of sleep as well, because some kids, nap a little more in the day, sleep a little less at night, but it's the 24 hours that you're looking for. Okay. This sleep summary by age also applies for our 4 to 24-month-old crowd, who will have some similar overtired signs. Very fussy, inconsolable crying, also waking up soon into sleep. I remember one time I bounced my son for like 40 minutes to finally get him to fall asleep, and then he woke up 20 minutes later. I was like, what the heck? He was so overtired by the time I started putting him to sleep, he just could not stay asleep. So frequent night wakings is one of the signs. So most of the kids that we work with inside of Helping Babies Sleep School or in my one-to-one practice have two reasons in that 4 to 24-month stage why they're not sleeping. One is they are stuck in the overtired cycle. They wake up frequently at night, maybe every 2.5 to 3 hours, and they look for someone to help them go back to sleep. And those wake-ups impact the quality and the quantity of their overall sleep, and then they stay stuck in this negative feedback loop of overtiredness. And you say, how do we break that? That can be tricky, right? The first thing you can do, though, is look at that sleep summary by age and focus on, am I getting them to sleep soon enough during the day and before bedtime? Okay, your bedtime should not be this arbitrary time based on what's good for the family. It should be based on your last nap for most kids, at least until about age 1.5. Okay, so the clock is super helpful. Another overtired sign in the 4 to 24-month age group is that they fall asleep if you put them in the car, like immediately. Well-rested kids do not fall asleep on every single car drive. They fall asleep when it's around their nap time. Maybe not right at nap time. It could even be, 20 to 30 minutes before, but close enough to nap time because the car will lubricate it. Okay, so overtired kids tend to fall asleep immediately in the car. There you go. Now, in our toddlers, 2 to 4-year-old age group, overtiredness can look like I am wired at bedtime. So one thing I see commonly is parents who have like toddlers and they say, okay, 8:30 is when we want you to go to sleep. But if that kiddo is 2 and has been awake since like 2 o'clock, that's a 6.5-hour gap for awake time. And it's usually too long at this age. And they are wired by the time you're trying to get them to fall asleep. And then what happens? Well, they want you that much more. And it's actually harder for them to fall asleep. The average 2-year-old sleep schedule, very average, great place to start. They wake up around 6:30. They nap about 6.5 hours later, so around 1 to 3. That's very common at daycares. Then they have about a 4.5-hour gap until bed. They're asleep around 7:30, and they get 11 hours sleep overnight. Okay, so if you're having trouble with tired, whiny kids during the daytime, take a look at, is your nap time appropriate? Is your bedtime appropriate? And again, those kids will fall asleep immediately in the car if you put them in there. All right. We're going to give you, I've got another chart for you for toddlers. It's called our Sleep Terrorist Guide, and it's about what timing your kiddos need between age 2 and 4, and you can check that out below. Now, what can you do about these things? So what are your solutions? Here are our top 3 solutions for overtired kids. So number 1 is start observing what's happening. So I want you to keep a log. Notice for your newborn baby or toddler, when did they wake up? When are they falling asleep? And then taking a look at that time and comparing it to the sleep chart. Am I in the right range? The second thing you can do is then, based on that, start watching the clock rather than using the sleepy signs to help guide you to know when it's nap time. Because that's your third tip. It is your job to know when to make sleep happen. We think sleep should be this beautiful natural thing. The signs should be really obvious. I see all this stuff on Instagram all the time about that. It's really hard for some people, especially if you're caught in that overtired cycle. Your kids probably look a little bit tired all the time, and it's really hard to know. Putting them down too early can also be a problem because what is that sleep readiness based on? Your sleep pressure. Okay. So if I have I have a couple clients like this right now with 6-month-olds. 6-month-olds have about 2.5-hour wake windows, and they're reporting, I'm seeing sleepy signs at 1.5 hours. And I'm trying to get them down with rocking or bouncing, and it's taking me forever, and they're fighting it. And then I only get a short nap. Yeah, because even though they're tired, because they're taking short naps and they're waking up in the night, their sleep pressure isn't quite ready to go down. And so try pushing them a little longer, even though it feels very unnatural, and getting them to that proper time. And then after 6 months especially, what we can find is often that nap ends up being a little bit longer because that sleep pressure was optimized. If you like these tips, come and check out our 6-question sleep quiz. It gives you a personalized response based on your child's age and your answers. It's sleep-quiz@helpingbabysleep.com. We'll put the link in here below. And don't forget, we all have many ways to help you in your sleep journey. We have online classes for newborns, babies, and toddlers. We have a book on Amazon, and I do one-to-one personal consultations. But start here. Don't forget to hit subscribe and never miss a baby sleep tip.